There's just 1 minute to showtime.
The engines are on.
The following program is brought to you in living color.
When they wrote up the systems and the rule set that we use, did working people get to write a line? What class of men on pen and paper jotted down their clues? With capital the heart of their design. When 90 million want a thing, but some shareholders say no, which class of people get to have their way? The people read the fine print, say that this thing has got to go, and we'll start writing a new contract here today. Don't you know that hundreds will work and one man keeps the money? They don't think they gotta tell us why. When they say the new social contract, all the bosses will be gobsmacked and everyone will want a sign. Oh, yeah, everyone will want a sign.
All right. Hello, everyone. Hello, cousins. Welcome to the show. I hope you are enjoying your summer as it's getting going in many parts of the world. Today, in my area, it's superstorm mode. So I'm not expecting any catastrophes, but I wouldn't be surprised given our track record.
Yeah, I know that the whole Midwest is just going crazy right now.
It is. And luckily, things have not been too bad. My area kind of just seems to kind of get the least of what's happening. So we're going to keep our fingers crossed that that's how the rest of at least the show goes today. And then I don't have to go and hold up a tarp in 70-mile-an-hour wind to keep my basement from flooding. So, okay. So yes, that's what's going on here. So of course, I was about to say treated, and it is a treat. We're all treated to being here with my illustrious co-host, Mr. Mayor Jared. Hello, Jared.
What's going on, everybody? Good afternoon.
Yes. And shout out to the chat, who are your time traveler too. One of our longtime viewers is saying hello, so hello back. We are live. We get that question sometimes. We are live, and we do take questions and comments during the show as often as we can. It's a short show, so it's an hour a week, and sometimes we can't be quiet long enough to take your questions and comments, but we try. So thank you for being with us. Glad to be here. Not as crazy of a week as last week, because Trump was kind of coming home from his I want to say vacation, because it was probably pretty vacay for him, getting treated to things. I'm going to get a surprise jet, and it's totally cool, and we're going to make the hugest arms deal that's ever happened in the history of the world. And so I have a feeling, and if you've seen that weird video of, like, I don't know what it's about, but maybe I just don't understand culturally, but there's this video of him walking down a hallway, and then, like, women are, like, waving their hair at him, like, lined up. Did you see that? Okay, it's.
Is
I'm
that
like,
a
all
thing?
right.
I haven't looked it up. I mean, I should just make that up for him. That must be like a thing.
Yeah, well, you'd think that, like, he was just kind of, like, walking like he wasn't even noticing it, which, doesn't really surprise me that much. But I'm just saying, like, I don't know how much business is really being done on this kind of a trip, or with him in general. So he's come back from all of that, and there's kind of been a little bit of talk here and there. I think he kind of came back refreshed and renewed, and with some new, Middle East sun on his skin through all the makeup and everything, and has some new ideas, because we keep kind of going back and forth about him, which we knew would happen, that he's had it with Elon. He doesn't like that everybody hates him. It makes it, you are making me look stupid. Is basically where he's coming from on this one. So it's like end of Doge, beginning of Doge, and right before the show, Jared made a good point, which is that every Doge cut has seemed to be 1-for-1, minus social services plus to military. So we have all that dumb shit coming up, and we were also talking about the fact that in a couple weeks is my birthday, and Trump's birthday is a couple weeks after my birthday, and he wants to do the big military parade that he was denied in his other previous presidency. Whatever, fine. I hope it tears up all the roads, and he won't pay for them. And whoever hosts that parade, probably Texas, gets what they deserve. And speaking of people who got what they deserved. Okay, so we normally don't get to celebrate bad things happening to bad people, but one genocide Joe Biden got dick cancer. But it also, it's in a bigger picture here is how long has he had this cancer? Because apparently it takes quite a while to metastasize to the point that he's got it now, which is spread to his bones. And yes, we are celebrating this, honestly, because not often do bad things happen to bad people who deserve them. And you know, I generally keep my mouth shut, you know, just because I don't like to argue with people online. But I've even been like, when I've seen, you know, liberals being like, oh, leave him alone, I'm like, no. Like, we get this, we get to have this. No, bad things don't ever happen to bad people. So here we are with that. So you're going to see a lot of celebration on the left about that. And it's well deserved. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. So, but it does, in a bigger, more important picture, raise transparency issues, because now we're also seeing Democrats playing Monday morning quarterback about the whole thing. And it's like, well, we should have a primary, and maybe he wasn't the right, and maybe Kamala wasn't the right one, and blah, 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 blah. It's like, oh yeah, you're all so brave for coming out now, all these fucking months after, you know, having this happen. So the question is, was this cancer already part of that? Who knew? When did people know? So we're going to unpack that a little bit. Anything you want to contribute real quick before I hop into my I have a kind of a rant to go off on.
The only thing I want for Joe Biden and his cancer diagnosis is that he will receive. I hope that he receives the exact same level of care that I, as an American citizen, would receive.
Yes. Let us not forget that he said he would veto a Medicare for all bill if it came across his desk.
He also threw they'll say it's because COVID, blah blah blah. Like, he ended various specific measures that were allowing more people to get on Medicaid, whatever the poor people one is. And then after ending those programs, it's not just like, oh, he in theory removed. It was tens of millions of people, like something like 20 million people who got onto Medicaid, because what it did was it just relaxed the paperwork hoops you have to jump through.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty good at going through paperwork hoops. So I'm pretty good at getting like benefits that I'm owed. I'm good at I get the little what is it? When's the last time you got a class action lawsuit email and then you fill out the paperwork and then a few months later you get like $4? Yeah. Right now it's, I guess, Apple's getting sued because of Siri like years ago. I'm like, I own an Apple product. All right, send me $3 in a few months.
Yeah.
But people who are bad at paperwork, or people who are just like, hey, my specific life situation doesn't allow me to do whatever. I think it's like the income requirement. I don't think there's work requirements on Medicaid. They're talking about adding those all the time, and which also leaves out the fact of usually you get Medicaid like once you've lost your job. Like, that's when you're getting Medicaid.
Yeah. So it's a mess. Absolute mess, and it doesn't need to be. It's amazing how other countries can manage to handle it, and that is another big thing too. Obviously, you know, we've got genocide hanging all over the whole thing here, and that really takes precedent over anything else. But we're also talking about, you know, one of the main architects of the 1994 crime bill, which ruined many lives and still is. He's been a villain his entire career, and he's benefited wildly from it. So just as Jared says, we wish that he could get what an average American were entitled to, but he won't. He will get wonderful health care. He will eat wonderful food. He will have 24-hour around the clock help and service of anything that he needs. And he will leave this mortal coil pampered and beloved by many now on both sides of the aisle for whatever reason. I don't know what the hell that's about, but but here we are. Again, because of uniparty, it always is. So I do want to spend a couple of seconds here talking about something that seems on the surface very inconsequential in the macro or micro situation, because it's got to do with sports and entertainment. But if you take this into the bigger picture, which I'm going to do, and I'm going to go make this quick, then we're looking at a really big spooky situation, which I think a lot of us have seen coming for a long time, but I think the general population doesn't really know to look out for this. So I'm not a sports person, but I'm from Indiana, and I'm, a huge into the Indianapolis 500, which is this Sunday. And every year I listen to it on the radio because there's always a blackout, a local market blackout. Even, like, it's like, oh, did I, this local market keep the whole thing from selling out? It's the biggest sporting event in the world, one of the biggest events in the world. And this is going to be the 109th running of the race. And because it did reach sellout status, they will be broadcasting it on television. So I will actually get to watch it instead of listen to it. Looking forward to that. Hasn't happened since 2016. So something else that hasn't happened in quite a while, 42 years to be exact, is when you qualify for the race. Just a quick update here. When you qualify for the race, there's only a certain amount of slots that you could available to people. So there, if you're not fast enough, you don't get one of these 33 slots, right? You have to make it. There are very stringent rules. There are very stringent, things that keep people from cheating. Very, very closely monitored, closely watched. The Penske team had 2 of their cars pulled from qualifications initially because they were accused of cheating. But then I guess they said, no, we'll just let you pay some fines. Not going to happen. Okay, whatever. So they're supposed to be watching this very, very closely. So something that hasn't happened in 42 years is a rookie setting the pole. And what that means is the fastest car on the track, making the fastest lap of what's called qualifications, right? And that's on pole day. And there's another thing called bump day. And they were the same day. And they're a couple days ago. Who's on, who's whatever. So you think, okay, that sounds really cool, right? Okay, a rookie made pole in the first time in 42 years, because it never happens. It is extraordinarily rare for a rookie to set the pole. This is usually done by seasoned professionals who have won the race or at least come in second or third. And that determines who's going to be in the first couple of rows and who's going to be the first car in the first row. So this rookie comes in, right? And he bumps out all of these other seasoned professionals. And I think a lot of people like that, underdog type of a story, get super excited about it. Never happens. Never happens for a reason. And it turns out that this driver is from Israel. And the reason that matters is because this is a very international event, very, very international event. And for the most part, I would think the tide is turning on who the fans of these events are. You're seeing a lot more openness towards it. But generally, whereas I have always known it, the fans were primarily white boomer males who were very sexist and racist toward anyone who was not white or American as a winner, always wanted to contest the winning. So when someone like Takuma Sato would win from Japan, I would always be excited because I'm like, haha, ruined it for you, right? So you think, okay, so big deal, Israel is involved, right? Well, this has historically been something that Israel has not had much of a presence in at all. So it's very much not a coincidence that it's happening right now, where they're constantly in the news, they're constantly being talked about, they're constantly doing things on the world stage. And this rookie, who it's unusual for a rookie to set the pole, and then this rookie is from Israel, who outscoped all of these super professionals, right? So people think this is all great and whatever. And it's not great because this, with the stringency against, making sure there's no cheating going on, you look at this story and you're thinking, like, if you look at it in a bigger way, it's like, well, what are they doing in here now? Why is this happening now? And how were they able to do this? How was their machine better than anybody else's machine? How was their driver somehow better than anybody else's driver? Of course it can't happen, but it hasn't happened in 42 years. So, okay, you think, all right, it's international, who cares? Whatever, you're getting you're kind of getting ahead of yourself here. But again, they've had no presence in this for the most part over the years. So, but this is not an isolated event, because if you could juxtapose this against what's happening in Europe and European countries and pretty much anywhere outside of America, right now we have something going on called Eurovision. And I'm sure if you're American,
just gonna bring up.
I'm sure you've heard about Eurovision, right? Because it's the stupidest shit you've ever seen in your life. Where all these other countries are that not America are competing in a song competition. Like every country is competing in a song competition, right? Okay, so cool. It's been going on a really long time. It's a huge deal. It's like America's Got Talent, but just a song competition per country, and then the winner wins. Right? Oh yeah, best song, whatever. And sometimes they go international. There's one that crossed over here. I can't remember who they were called, Måneskin, something like that. They crossed over and they had a couple radio hits. So, because they won Eurovision a year or two ago. So, 2022-ish, Eurovision, a lot of fans and a lot of sponsors said, all right, fine, we need to kick Russia out of this competition. Fuck Russia. They're being aggressors. They're dickheads. We hate them. Gone. Russia's kicked out of the competition. And then as of last year and this year, there have been calls for Israel to be removed from the competition, which they have not been removed from the competition. And curiously, very curiously, we are at the end of this competition, and they are like poised to win, essentially. And that has, because there has been so much of a call for people to get out of, or get them out of there, and they haven't been, yet they managed to raise to the top of the competition. The fans now and a lot of sponsors are saying this has been manipulated results. These are not
It just
genuine
kills
results.
your viewer base. Like, nobody gives a shit about Eurovision anymore because we've been like 3 years in a row of just politics horseshit where it's like, Russia's evil. Here, Israel, come to the fucking podium.
He's got that exactly.
And everyone's just like,
right.
well, I guess I'm done with this nonsense. This is just propaganda bullshit again. Which it kind of always was. I mean, like, it's not like Eurovision was this, perfectly pristine, pure music content. It's kind of like,
No,
I
it's
like
very
Eurovision
politically
as a
motivated.
show of like, look at us. We have enough prosperity that we can put together a show. Blah, blah, blah. It's supposed to be, it's like a, if it can become a kind of like what it's meant to be, a like fun, not horribly serious. Look at all these countries put on these songs. Look at these crazy things, like freaking
It's
sexy
supposed to be
sax
silly
man.
fun, and it's not. It's very politically motivated.
The gif of the dude doing the like sax with that's Eurovision. Like memes come out of it.
Weird,
It's cute. And, like,
weird costumes and stuff.
Yeah.
There was one I happened to see, John Oliver, where this girl was like getting some heat from, I can't remember where she was from, but she was getting some heat about her song because I guess the word in a different language, K-A-N-T, is pronounced cunt. Her song was "I'm serving cunt," but that was K-A-N-T, which means singing. But it was very much, what she was getting at here.
From
So
the
anyway,
Latin cantos.
Yeah, right? It's supposed to be funny silliness, but it's very politically motivated. But this is literally my point here, and I'm bringing it around town here, and then we'll move on to something else. Is the race is happening this weekend. The poll was set a couple of days ago. Eurovision is happening right now, where they're calling out voter manipulation. In to do with Israel, which means that the competition rules, whoever sponsors whatever, have cleared the way for Israel to be in the competition and allowed whatever kind of bullshit to go on. The same thing it seems to be happening, in my estimation, in Indy 500, where they've never historically had much of a presence, right? Because there's really just no explanation.
If race fans think that it's fake, there's only so many race, like you said, they haven't sold that race out in almost a decade, and now you're gonna pull some nonsense that's gonna make the true hardcores be like, well, fuck this.
I don't think that they will. That's the kind of thing that the atmosphere of it is. I don't think that the most people
are they getting behind the Israel driver? Or are they all
right?
Like,
I think it's like me and probably like a few other people who are making that connection. But the reason I'm making it is because this was and I mean, we are constantly getting Israel is Nazis allusions all the time, but this is literally the strategy that Germany took between the First and the Second World Wars of infiltrating popular culture of societies of other countries, making friends with people, becoming very, very visible, even though they were doing horrible things. And granted, the information was not as readily available at the time, but the Nazi Party was really, really popular in America, and America was extremely reluctant to go to war with them in the Second World War. So the point I'm making here is I don't want people, if anybody's listening to this, I don't want anybody to fall for this kind of a thing, that it was just a one-off situation. I believe there is some kind of cheating going on, or wheels being greased, palms being greased, to allow this to happen. Because if it took 42 years for a rookie to set the poll, and that doesn't mean he's going to win necessarily, but there's usually a pretty good correlation between poll setter and winner. I will be really angry. I will turn into the white male boomer about this one, because I will feel like this has, because it's meant to put positive attention onto Israel in the midst of all of their horrible doings. Same with Eurovision. And the fact that that's happening at the same time, I think, is extremely suspicious, very spooky. And I really want people to wake up and take notice of that, because they are not, they are not our friends. They are absolutely our enemies, and should be recognized as such, and not just gloss over it. If you see them getting involved in stuff that they haven't normally been involved in, and they suddenly shoot to the top of whatever that thing is, something's going on. There's a reason that almost all of the Congress people have taken money from their PAC, our IPAC. So it's not a coincidence. There is definitely something going on here. Whether or not I've articulated it properly, I don't want to get too conspiratorial, but to me, it definitely looks like an issue. So I will leave that there.
It might even be a good sign
then
if we're down to like trying to F with Eurovision and the Indy 500. Like, great, good job, Israel. You're really winning. Winning a lot of shit out there.
It's kind of a hearts and minds type of a thing, because again, the 500 is the biggest sporting event in the world, and I think it's like 1 million people or 500,000 people. I should have looked that up about when it's a sellout, like how many people could be there, including like workers and vendors and stuff. There is a shit ton of people in one place, and it's wildly popular with a lot of people. And then again, Eurovision, wildly popular in Europe, and this thing is happening at the same time. So very suspicious, and I hope that anybody hearing this really keeps their eye on this and doesn't look at it as a one-off situation.
Well, I'm gonna flip into talking a tiny bit about DOGE just because you mentioned it earlier.
Yeah.
Because there's like everything, there's a million layers, and I repeat every week how it's Trump. The MO seems to be Trump is like, I'm going to do this thing, and then within a week, he'll either announce that he's doing the opposite or just never mention it again. I still want to see where the gold is in Fort Knox / the New York Fed. But looking at DOGE, like even these cuts, you might have been going through like, wow, they're just cutting stuff. That's crazy. You can just go in and do it. And it's like, well, actually, no. Congress has to approve all of this or just nothing happens. And guess what's not happening? Like anything shocking. Even the stuff they do that I would have like defunding the National Endowment for Democracy is defunding the wing of the U.S. I guess foreign power arm that starts what we call color revolutions, where you find the craziest people in a country. Well, I should say you find the craziest opposition to whatever leadership of whatever country. Start funding them, give them some weapons, and the most extreme cases, the CIA will just start training people. Like in Ukraine, they showed up and just started training people. And then in 2014, it's like, oh my God, the Maidan Revolution. I mean, coup. I mean, where did they go? It's weird. The government got overthrown. That whole party just kind of disappeared. And now we've settled into this like pro-U.S. Hegemony guy. We got this Zelensky. Well, Zelensky wasn't even the first one. He was the second. Blah, blah, blah. We've seen this over and over again. I would love if the National Endowment for Democracy were defunded actually. I would love if USAID, which is not about aid, that is about international development. The I and D are not part of the word aid. It's international development, not international charity or whatever the fuck they're going to tell you it is. We're feeding starving kids in Africa. No, you're manipulating African grain markets to keep Africa permanently dependent on American wheat or corn or whatever.
Absolutely.
While Americans starve at home. Okay, we're not cutting that. We're cutting that rant off. So I would love if those things were.
We've talked about it before. You can look into our archive about what we've said about USAID.
I would love if those things were actually cut, but guess what? The thing he's doing that is good or bad, whatever, it's just not happening. Can't believe it. A shocking twist of events. The Republican Senate has been skeptical of codifying DOGE's massive cuts. Actually, the longer it goes on, I kind of like Doge. Like just the fact that I get to say Doge, it does make me smile in a weird way. In my 12-year-old internet self, running out of options to get its Doge cuts approved by Congress, the White House is now looking at a 2-year runway. So it's not happening. There's going to be midterms to get the cuts passed and opening the door to launching a court fight over the president's power to shut down spending on his own. Donald Trump initially wanted Congress to approve a formal recessions package that would claw back about $9 billion in previously approved federal spending. God, $9 billion is just fucking nothing. Yes, it's a lot of money, but it's
a lot of money to people like who are sitting here talking about it, but it's literally changing the couch cushions to the government.
He has proposed and is almost certainly going to get approved a $1 trillion with a T. I always love saying the billion with a B, trillion, pretty soon about a quadrillion with a Q. It's like we didn't have to guess. We heard quad. We knew it was quad and not trill. But a $1 trillion military budget, which so like what percentage is $9 billion of $1 trillion? 9. Like 1,000 billions is a trillion. So if we're getting rid of 9 of them, sorry, 0.9. Oh my God, I'm so mad.
Numbers.
So 0.9 of $1 trillion is what we got down for freaking Doge after all of these insane cuts you've been hearing about. So like that's all we got. Even that, like, think of how much money is just getting freaking set on fire. Anyway, this package would include major cuts to USAID, and public broadcasting like NPR, PBS. I don't really care because it's not that much money. The NPR, PBS one is just like a culture war thing, which is funny. It's like, oh no, $2 million. Can we spare it? It's like, oh, freaking whatever. That effort is hitting a dead end on Capitol Hill, with Republicans warning the White House that it is already facing tough odds in advancing their so-called mega bill. Is that the big beautiful bill, or is that a different one?
I'm not sure. I think he's hoping to like unveil that one, like kind of a big ado about it pretty soon.
Even though it requires just a simple majority of Republican votes in the Senate. So when you hear Trump people saying like, oh, they're keeping him down, they're not doing the things he wants, like, they are correct, but I hate that that's going to be an excuse for a lot of people. Not everybody. Some people are kind of figuring it out, being like, oh, the things we want aren't going to happen, even if we elect a guy who says he's going to do it. But a bunch of people go, oh, well, you see, Trump tried as hard as he could. He just couldn't get anything done. Like they said with his first term, they're just going to say it again. It's like, well, wow.
Every president. That's always like the MO with every president. He tried so hard for you people. Shut up.
So, like, that's where that's going. Yes, the Doge the Doge cuts that haven't actually happened. Like, yes, people prep for them. And I do know a lot of people who have, in weird ways of, like, frick, I have a friend of a friend who like contracts for a company that works for the IRS, so he's like 7 degrees off of the IRS, but like because of that, not because of the cuts, because as we just read, no cuts have actually happened. They've just been like proposed, so some companies are dealing with them as if they are real, and this would be a case where they're like, well, we don't think we're going to have work in that thing in the future because they're talking about these cuts, so we're just going to not. So meaning that guy doesn't have work right now, like, because he in a roundabout way works for the government.
Right.
And the number of people who roundabout work for the government but not directly, if you also include the direct federal employees, it's millions and millions and millions of people. It's a crazy amount of our country are a lot of phony baloney jobs floating around. We have a lot of jobs just for the sake of having jobs, and I don't want people to lose their jobs, but we do have billions and billions of dollars that just evaporate into the air, or just like freaking to pay a guy to sit at a computer and not actually do anything. Like, there's so much bureaucratic nonsense going on. People are correct when they say that. And remember, nothing is actually going to be cut because they can't get it through Congress. So they're going to say they cut, increase the military budget, and we're just basically where we were to start with.
Yeah. And he's got, Trump, Trump, and I'm sure Musk as well, have this fixation on the military, which doesn't really mean we don't really need to talk about that. I mean, you can clearly see that he's obsessed with it. He equates it to power. He loves how, the French have their military parade. That's why he wanted one, even though it's for completely different reasons, the whole Bastille Day thing. So, and then again, he's really in awe of countries like Israel that force conscription onto their young people as well. So that there's been a lot of trying to figure out how to make that happen, but they really haven't pushed that forward yet because they know that the country will literally go insane. So that's where we are as far as that goes. But Jared's completely correct that it's like, what is really going on here? But at the same time, we are kind of will they, won't they? Because we know that Trump gets tired of people. He's made that very clear in his entire life, and just as a person, we see like a public figure, and so there's kind of a rift growing. That we all saw coming between him and Shmilan, and as well as RFK Jr. apparently. But it's like it's sort of hard when you're dealing with these yahoos. It's really hard to tell the difference between tabloid style headlines and what's real, because like the so-called real media, like the mainstream media, is printing tabloid headlines every day. So, well, were you going to say something?
I did miss this is a kind of a clarifying point here. Although the group has claimed more than $160 billion in savings, and the accounting is disputed, most of these cuts are unilateral and potentially reversible executive actions. So yes, some cuts have actually been made, but then like when the budget rolls around again next year, they're just back again, or whoever the next president is can just replace them with their own executive actions, etc. And then you got Senator Rand Paul. The cuts, I think his dad half all right. I think he's weird. The cuts won't be real or lasting until Congress votes on it. said Rand Paul. The recession package's $9 billion is a pittance, he said. It's a rounding error and should only be the beginning. If they're not going to send us the $9 billion, it sends a really bad signal to anybody that is fiscally responsible that there's going to be no change from doing things the way they've always been done. And I think Rand Paul is correct there. Nothing is actually
at least
changing.
There's that. At least there are some stop breaks here, and that kind of keep the tyrannical
the
aspect
NED
out of
getting
it.
trillions of dollars no matter what, that keep the USAID able to subjugate random poor countries around the world, to keep our missiles flowing and to pressure them into joining mutually unbeneficial trade deals.
Right, and as we're definitely pressured to do these things against their what would be good for them. And that's again an effect of the Uniparty in 40 years of Reagan. I don't want to say Reaganomics. That sounds like.
Isn't it weird they agree here?
Economy,
Dems and Republicans agree on.
Yeah,
all
weird.
These,
it's always weird how they come
changes.
together on anything that's going to help anybody potentially.
They agree on every war. They agree on keeping the money flowing to the same people it's been flowing to, because that's the people that put them in office.
Yeah, they first of all they owe a debt, or potentially are responding to blackmail.
This is literally like the people who own your politicians' money line, and the idea that they'd be like, yeah, let's just cut that off. It's never will that happen. But that's also why some people like me, through a weird lens, I would like it. This is weirdly like, this is what
your
a commie
motivations
would
are different.
do.
Like, yeah, it's
if a commie got in office, they would cut both of those agencies instantly. They would trash the CIA instantly, and you'd have Democrats and Republicans fucking moving heaven and earth to make sure that wouldn't happen.
Or blowing a president's head off in a
or
parade.
They just kill you,
per se.
Shoot you.
Oh my God! You know what? I saw a documentary the other day, and it wasn't like a conspiracy thing. It was like just a part of it. Like somebody had said that they had seen the actual like Zapruder film, and that there's a cut made, and I had not seen this before because I'm not like run it back, and I've seen JFK the movie where like we're up and back in the court scene.
I've watched Back and to the Left. I've watched a lot.
Yeah, but there's this piece where the person, like the story that this person had that said that they had seen it, just real quick, was that what happened was the driver turned around and shot him in the head, and then
nobody saw it.
Yeah, no, they apparently, and they spliced the tape with another piece that looks like it just came. He just kind of falls, kind of grabs and falls over, and then the head blows off, and the brain comes out, and it's really fucked up. But apparently, there's like where they spliced it. The person who spliced it, either by accident or intentionally, left the bottom of a tree off. I don't know if this is true or not, really, but like I was very compelling. But like it's like this tree, but then like the whole trunk is cut off, so there's like this floating tree, and that's like apparently the evidence of that the tape had been altered from what had actually happened, and it was fascinating, very fascinating. But I can't verify this. But,
I mean, if the driver shot him, people standing on the street would have noticed.
Probably would have noticed that one. Yeah, and then they went to so little effort to try to do the whole Oswald. It was this guy here. We did not make these pictures up. Like
I have no problem entertaining the idea that Lee Harvey Oswald did not shoot that guy just because he was immediately killed himself. Just quick!
Yeah, there's that too.
Get him.
So no, just we weren't going to talk about crazy conspiratorial stuff, but like I did see the piece that they were talking about in the documentary, and it did show a floating tree, like where there was no trunk on the tree. So
I wonder if that's like an old film artifact thing, or if it's.
It looked weird. It looked weird, But anyways, whatever. But that kind of brings us up to speed about what's going on as far as that. So we have said the whole time, Trump will get sick of Elon. He will get sick of RFK. He always replaces the people around him with even more crazy sycophantic people, which I don't really know how far worse you can get than those two, honestly. Like how further down like dick suckers can you get at this point? Like it's not. We'll see. We're gonna find out. But it also again remains, as Jared says, remains to be seen if any of this DOGE stuff, if it was all just smoke and mirrors, which again is in the Trump playbook, or if there actually will be something there. But again,
if you don't like these cuts, don't worry. In another couple of years, whoever the next guy is gonna undo them.
And you also have in some cases, because you also have this big bombastic bullshit DOGE stuff going on as a way to very rapidly agree on both sides, make social cuts to Medicaid, to food stamps, to social programs like WIC.
We got like a medical trifecta of this story that has a temporarily surprisingly good ending.
So, well, yeah, we, well, and that's kind of the
And I don't
whole
mean
thing.
Joe Biden getting cancer. That's not the good ending. There's other. I say
Well, that's
getting
the whole
has
thing
had
with-
for a long time cancer. It turns out.
Yeah, and that's where we are right now. And again, it's like, yes, you're going to see the left celebrating the hell out of this. We're going to have the dancing crab memes. We're all super juiced, because
I see just as many people saying, "How dare you make fun of a man's cancer? He's a father," and it's like, oh boy.
Exactly.
So were all these other fathers who died with zero help of any kind because they live in America.
You know how all the cancer patients in Gaza, when their hospitals were getting
Just
bombed.
all the cancer patients in Phoenix. Well, we got the Mayo Clinic, but you got to be able to afford to go there. All the cancer patients in freaking Indy and Cleveland.
Yeah, exactly right. You are
Everybody
not
listening here probably knows somebody who either went into insane debt or just straight up died because they didn't want to deal with it.
Yes, at different points. That's exactly the case. And then he, helped to make it happen. So before his presidency, helped to make it happen where you could not declare medical bankruptcy anymore.
Yes.
So a lot of people were like, all right, well, I'll just trash my credit and go into medical bankruptcy because there's no way in hell I'm going to be able to pay these gajillion-dollar debt that I needed to save my child's life. So, very, very, very glad. And again, he's not really going to see consequences of his personal actions. This is just like a karmatic smackdown, honestly. And that's why we're celebrating it because, yeah, we want to see him be taken to task for what, throwing open the weapons coffers to Israel and giving them unlimited money. We want to see, him be taken to task for all the horrible things that he's done. Now we have to wait for the Grim Reaper to do it. But the fact of the matter is yes, we are celebrating. Yes, we are happy. And no, we're not going to apologize for it because the man deserves it. And, but if we're going to get serious here for a minute and out of our opinion zone, it raises a bigger issue about transparency, which a lot of podcasters, a lot of people, a lot of commentators, a lot of news people are talking about, not in the mainstream, but in the internet verse, because as we mentioned earlier, this is the kind of cancer apparently that takes a long time to metastasize. So he had to have had it a lot longer than is being admitted. Also, it has metastasized to his bones, so that took some time to happen, and presumably he's being treated for it the whole time with the best medicine and best treatment money can buy, by the way. And so we get to the point of well, how long did they know? And I can't remember if I said this on air, but we were talking about it right before the show. Is in 2023 or 2022, he made a public comment in one of his speeches that he had cancer. And then the people running behind him are like, oh, no, you know how he is. It was just a gaffe. It was classic Joe Biden. Don't ask questions. It's not real. LOL. Don't ask questions. So it could have been going on his entire tenure as president when nobody really knows. But now we also have, which is adding kind of fuel to this fire. The Democrats are coming out, your pseudo or super liberals rather are coming out and be like, well, maybe we should have had a primary and maybe they should have got to vote on who they wanted and maybe he was too old to serve in general. It's like, okay, well, what did you know? When did you know it? Were you in the loop on this? And then we also have aides and stuff saying we thought we were going to need to put him in a wheelchair. It's like, so we're hearing all these, points of information about that. It was actually, and I guess Jake Tapper's got a book coming out about it. Believe what you want with him. But I mean, it's hard to argue with what we all saw, plus what is getting brought out now and into the light. So probably what he puts in that book is probably true, I would say, even though I don't abide by anything he says or does. So what is that really? I mean, we have a bigger picture issue here. And we know that this has been done before. This was done with Reagan. Reagan's decline was absolutely hidden from the public. I can't remember off the top of my head which president it was, but there was one many decades ago where when someone had become so incapacitated, basically his wife was president. So
that was Reagan.
There was some. Oh yeah, well,
so FDR they hit his polio, but that's a little different because that's his mind is fine.
There was one that. Well, I can't think of who it was, but someone had a an operation, and they had to do it on a ship. It was a hard operation because they were trying to hide it from the public in every way possible. And then, like in his incapacitation, like his wife became like proxy president. But I just can't remember which
Oh, right.
president
It's like,
it
so
was.
technically we have had the first woman president because for like a day
It
she
was a secret.
technically like she
Yeah.
could have signed something if something.
Right?
I know what you're talking about. I don't remember who either. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was.
Like
but
Obama? Like, it wasn't Obama. He's
no.
too
It was
young.
very long. It was a very long time ago, but I can't remember exactly who it was. I think it was before FDR, but I can't exactly remember. Anyways, that's not important. Whatever. I mean, I'm usually on it with the history stuff, but I'm not one of these persons. Did you in school, like 4th grade, did they make you memorize the presidents in order?
No, I had a very weird school. The only thing I actually memorized for any test, like there was very little memorization, which I appreciate because it's not a very high level of learning. But I did memorize all of the provinces in Canada.
Oh God.
And I can still, if you give me a map, I can still
Well,
get
that's
through
at
most of
least
them.
relevant, like useful. Like it's like that's the whole thing. It's like I think about this. Sometimes little things will come to me about like, just what a dog shit education that I had. It's like, why the fuck are you making 4th graders memorize the presidents in order and testing them on it? What is this going to do for
Also,
them?
it was Woodrow Wilson. I had to look it up. It was
Oh, was it? Okay, yeah. I
Edith
almost said that,
Wilson.
but I didn't know if I was really even close on that. But
Oh, Woodrow Wilson's second wife. So,
wow. Oh, first female
Edith
president.
Wilson.
What?
Edith. Hey, I like. Also, she
Yeah,
has like
hey,
an old
Edith.
lady name. Perfect.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, so that's the whole point. There have been anytime something goes wrong with the president, there's generally a cover up. And also there's if you want to get like kind of exciting about it, when there was a couple of instances in Eisenhower's presidency where he just disappeared, and then they were like, no, it was emergency dental surgery, and then that's the times that people say he was meeting with aliens. Just saying.
Oh, I thought that's when he was doing his cross-dressing thing.
No, that was I think you're thinking of Edgar J. Hoover.
Oh, why did I think that was Eisenhower? Wow. Yeah.
No,
It is
yeah.
Hoover.
Well, Hoover was he led the FBI.
Ran the FBI under Eisenhower? Like, were they the same era?
Yeah. No, they were. I don't know exactly the history of the FBI, but I know that he was the main dude, and he did do. I don't know exactly where on the spectrum that would be. I just know that he
people can wear whatever clothing they want.
cross-dressed.
That guy was like a bloodthirsty psychopath. That's my biggest criticism of Edgar
Right?
Hoover.
Yeah. Yeah. So the couple of times that Eisenhower dipped out, they were like, "No, it's totally normal reasons." And then a lot of people like, you go watch Ancient Aliens or some shit, and a lot of people like to say that's when he was meeting the aliens, and everybody knows about it, dude.
That does fit in with the Twin Peaks timeline, so yeah, that'll work.
It do. But yeah, we're being silly here because we're silly gooses. That's what
Here,
we do.
let me hit you with my trifecta of these healthcare things. They're all going to be kind of short. I just like reading from somebody else who has organized their thoughts ahead of time. I also think this BBC article is funny because when they say things that I believe are true, they do it, but as quoted by Trump to try and get you to be like, oh, it's bullshit because Trump is saying it. So yeah, like, oh God, Biden has cancer. And that announcement, he's been diagnosed with prostate cancer, as revived questions about what health issues the former president was dealing with while he was in the White House. And we go down here. President Donald Trump told reporters on Monday his predecessor should have been more transparent with the public, so it's like, it's not that, the true statement, he should have been more transparent with the public. It's Donald Trump says he should have been more transparent with the public, seeming to suggest, without offering evidence, that the cancer diagnosis has been covered up. Oh, wow, that must be wrong because Trump is saying it. You see how they take like a true thing but have to put it in the words of a guy who you've already been trained to. Well, I mean, he is a big liar, but the media has trained us to believe everything a Democrat says and disbelieve everything a Republican says for some reason. And this is BBC. This is international. This isn't even America's
also got to
news.
consider this stuff is not meant for people like us who are going to know what the doubt. Like we're going to know your life.
My dad is supposed to be reading this, and he'd be like, "Yeah,
yeah." It's for the general population. Yeah, your general anti-Trumpers.
I think it's very sad, actually. I'm surprised the public wasn't I have to do a very bad Trump. Wasn't notified a long time ago. Trump said, it could take years to get to this level of danger. So look, it's a very, very sad question. I feel very badly about it. That whole "it could take years" thing, that's true. Every medical person who's been especially if you're like the doctor taking care of the president, you're probably doing tests that you'd be catching this. You would know, you already know that his prostate's been an issue since like 2019. Also, just because he's an old man, of course his prostate's going to be an issue. And they go on in this article, be like, it would have shown up on whatever blood test. But then they also say, but men over 70 aren't screened. I'm like, yeah, not all men over 70 are the president, though.
Yeah, but like the main guy, the main dude, he's getting.
And they bring up the quotes of
like every week.
They bring up the quotes of things said by like Dem insiders, where it's like, we wanted to put him in a wheelchair because he can't walk, but we thought that would look bad, so we were going to wait. And it just has become pretty dang clear that. The establishment was pretty sure he was going to die from they knew about this cancer. They were pretty sure he was going to die from it, and the hope was they were going to get him through the election. He dies, and then you bring up Queen Kamala, who just gets to be president without an election.
Right, and
that's why she was the VP in the first place. Everybody, that's why they picked a young person.
Right, yeah. and the thing of it is like, yeah, she would have stepped right in, and so the plan got kind of fucked up.
They knew she could not win an election to the degree where they're like, okay, he's going to die, bring her in.
Right, yeah, and I think that's why the kind of the primary shuffle happened, because they weren't counting on having it go that long. But who was making the call of him, like why did it take you so long to drop out? When, you know what I mean? Like, who is actually in charge of this? Because we always say like, oh, the president is just a puppet to his overlords, blah 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 blah. That's not new, criticism, but so like, why did it work out the way that it worked out? How did they bone it that hard? It's the whole thing is, I mean, I'm sure this will come out in time, but as we are constantly caught in the loop of speculation when the stories come out, and then what's true, what's not, especially living in the time now. You would think with access to information that we would just be on fucking top of it, just as people, right? Like, you would think like the truth would be out every other minute, because people would be wanting to break the truth. People would want to go out and speak and blow whistles and stuff like that. But the disinformation, couldn't be worse. It's practically a yellow journalism situation again. So we don't know, and we wish we knew. We don't really consider ourselves journalists, so it's just people with opinions. but and it's just like, we would like to be able to say what is true and what is fact, but like, we're constantly being misled in every possible way, and we know that this is one of the most shady organizations, known to man on just every aspect of everything. So it puts us in a position of having to just go with the flow of talking about what everybody knows or doesn't know. And so this is the big question that we're waiting to be answered. Who knew what when? How long did they know for? Why now are Democrats coming out? And is it connected? Are we to assume that this was known to all Democrats or many Democrats? Are we to assume that I mean, because you have professionals. These people are professionals, right? So it's like, how do they fuck it up so hard? Like, it had to be kind of somewhat intentional. Like, if he's like, no, I'm not going. They're like, you're fucking going, right? Like, so things just kind of are not adding up at this stage. And that's why there's
like we had Obama and fucking George Clooney, I think, was in there somewhere. Like, we got to talk to Biden. And then it seems like Biden, he wouldn't. He was like, no, I'm staying through the end. Because at some point, they must have decided, no, man, you're too messed up. You're not going to be able to do this campaign. And then that debate, where they like intentionally, seemingly sabotage and were like, just get out there, bitch. It was like, have fun. Like, they just threw him out there.
It seemed that way too. It's like, who was in control of things, and what was the plan? Because
they would have, if they were smart, they would have like, he's too ill. He just can't do the debate today. Like, if they were actually trying, it'd been better to be like, sorry, he's in a coma.
Things just don't make sense, because like, if they knew all this and it was accelerating as rapidly as Jake Tapper and all these people want you to believe, then they could have just cut this off, right? And we're talking AIDS, we're talking about people working with him.
They had their only guy who had proved to actually could win an election. Who are they going to do? Everybody they kept trying to float, everyone's like, boo, we hate him even more. Like,
right,
like Gavin Newsom, no.
And this also raises the possibility that he was sick the whole time. So like, they push him, they ram him through as the worst candidate possible, mostly just to spite Bernie. Let's be real, and be able to maintain the control on things that we did, even though they would have been able to control Bernie absolutely like completely, 100% completely. He would have
Well, you
been
see,
their dog for sure.
they can't get through You look at the Doge cuts. We're just gonna run in with a wrecking ball and like do shit. If
Do it
if
then, yeah,
Bernie came in
right?
and said, "I'm just gonna run in and just kind of do shit," we'd be in the same situation. Be like, "Well, it seems that Democratic Senate cannot pass the universal health care bill out of qualms for blah 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 and blah," and they'd find a reason to not vote for it. They're like, "Oh,
Parliamentarians
sorry,
said no.
Suzanne Collins or some shit, or the parliamentarian, or
There's
you know."
always something. There's always something that comes up that just
And
stops
it's the
things
same
dead
in
in
both
its tracks.
directions, is what I'm trying to point out. If you try to meaningfully change the system in any direction, it's not. It is very resistant to that because the people in office aren't there to execute the will of the people. Even because in this case, Trump got elected. This is the will of the American people. He's the guy we voted for. He's supposed to be able to do shit. And same thing for when it was Biden. We voted for him. He should be able to do shit. And weird how the only things that they can get done are the war things.
Yeah,
the things
right.
that are always getting done no matter who is the president. And then there's all these
Right.
like distractive fliff they throw around at us. Speaking of, these are like, this is another example of the thing I'm talking about at the beginning. He introduces a thing and then it's reversed within like a week. So we were talking about the it's going to be illegal to boycott Israel bill, and then that just went down, even though state by state, most states already have that shit on the books. Anyway, this is the federal version, and that just went away because enough people went, bah, like, got mad.
No. Yeah.
Yep. And now we have Republicans tweak. This is the big, beautiful bill, by the way. Republicans tweak mega bills, SNAP, and Medicaid provisions. Hardliners also secured a rough agreement to speed up the phase out of Biden era clean energy tax credits. And I'm like, I guess I don't care about that because I think those go to businesses. I don't know. The GOP mega bill is undergoing significant changes in the House as conservative hardliners, moderates, and blue state Republicans all angled to shape the bill to their liking ahead of potential floor vote. And why are they saying that? It's like same day. Trump tells House GOP not to fuck around with Medicaid. Why? Because a bunch of people are like, people
We
get
hate you, and he doesn't like that. So.
he does want people to like him. The one thing I can absolutely give him credit for over any of the previous presidents of my lifetime is when you scream at him enough, he does something different. It might not be a good thing, but he does something. Meanwhile, you got Obama and frickin' Biden and George W.
It's like a self-confidence thing. Like they're like, I don't have to. No,
he actually wants his base to like him. Where Obama gets in office and says, "Fuck everyone who got me elected. I'm doing whatever I want. No abortion bill, whatever. No health care. No nothing. No college free. No student loan help. No path to immigration. Nothing." And then we're like, "We'll vote for you again, man."
Yeah, no problem, no problem. And we get a lot of heat on the left about like, why do you keep relitigating these old, events and these old elections and stuff like that? Because that's how we got here. These literally are still relevant to what's going on right now. If we go back to 2012, or what was it, 2012, with when they had the Democrats had the super majority, and people were starting to wake up to this shit, and Obama's like, no.
It's all a chain reaction. It's one thing builds on the next, and if anybody at any point can like start breaking this chain, talking about all these economic policies like the TPP and stuff, like one bad trade bill builds on the last, and I say bad, it's mostly for the rest of the world. They're pretty good for America. Builds on the last. One war builds on the last. Once you get your military bases going, it's like this. It's this continuous. It's the quote ratchet effect. And if anybody can actually go the other direction, it would prevent things in the future. Why did Biden not put in all this legislation to prevent all of this Trump insanity? Like people who were talking about the entire time. Well, Kamala, what are you going to do to prevent that? It's like, well, you'll find out after you vote for me.
You'll find out. Word salad. And then again, these things were coming up when people were in a sheer panic about him getting elected the first time. People were like, Obama, quick, put all this shit through, quick. And he's like, no. And that's how that went. Like there was no intention, no actions, no efforts whatsoever made by Obama to do anything to provisionarily or like to say, Congress, come on. And I think at the end it was a mixed bag there, but like, come on, let's make sure nobody can fuck around too hard.
He wouldn't even force through a Supreme Court justice thing. That'd be too rude and ungentlemanly, I guess.
Oh, right. That was so stupid. So yeah, the whole thing. And
what was that? Like, what was the quid pro quo there? Because we know these fuckers like basically work together. Was it just like, we're gonna take a moral victory here by being like, look how bad you are, freaking Mitch McConnell.
Well,
you're so mean.
Yeah, that was it. They do what they did is they let the Republicans be the villains because the Republicans don't care about being the villains. So the whole establishment, again, the parliamentarian, the whole establishment was like, it's Mitch McConnell's fault. We can't have nice things.
Those same judges will also now rule against Trump pretty regularly. Like Amy Coney Barrett goes against him all the time. So it's like, what was any of this? Is this
They
Trump
haven't
getting
been
fooled?
America's friend, let's be clear. But at the same, also they're bought and paid for. But and then
Yeah.
again, a lifetime appointment can do whatever they want, and they are literally bought and paid for. It's very out in the open about the whole thing. The whole, and then there was a lot of
That
questions.
documentary we watched, the Dark Money thing's like all the Supreme Court justices are assholes, and it's like,
Yeah, assholes big time.
here's them
And-
at all these galas. It's like,
Yeah, and there's always been a lot of questions and polling questions and like YouGov type things coming up at the transfer of power when Trump nominated these judges and they went through just lickety split, no problem. And then a lot of people going, okay, well, we don't need to abolish the Supreme Court. It's useless. It is, and we shouldn't have it. And it doesn't serve the people in any such a way. It's just a arm of politics, basically. And so it's doing no one any favors except for the people in power. And then now people are I think the only good thing to come out of these last several presidencies is people are at least more waking up to the fact that this is fully corrupt. And always has been.
we would have had the Supreme Court knocking down Bernie's universal health care, I bet you. If all else failed, they would have come in.
They would have
Sorry.
figured something out. Somebody would have figured something out to stop him. And again, we have to thank Bernie for getting us kind of the ball rolling. But he, bent the knee so many times.
Yeah,
and
he's out. He's tapped
Israel's
out.
allowed to defend itself, kind of shit. And it's like, man, you have lost the plot so hard. And I do still see leftists kind of wishfully thinking saying like if 2016 he would have started his own party or started a third party or whatever, we wouldn't be here. Oh yes, the fuck we would. It wouldn't matter what the party's name was when the people the people with the money say no. So
Bernie wouldn't have done that, and if he did, you already saw him ramping up how like Bernie is sexist and racist and evil. They would have buried him in that shit, and then you would have been like, "Oh, you support Bernie? Okay, Hitler." Like,
right, exactly. And that's when the whole Bernie
away,
Bros thing came up, and it's like, surprise, headline news: the dudes that you're calling Bernie Bros were already like that. So
and our 51% women somehow.
also that,
like most Bernie supporters were ladies anyway. All right. So I'm a tiny bit more off this Axios thing, like why it matters. Trump is floating. Okay, Trump wants to like the him and Thomas Massie thing at first doesn't make sense, and then because you think that because Thomas Massie is, I don't think he counts as like MAGA, but he's definitely not one of the mainstream Republicans. He makes his career off of being like I'm one of the Republicans who actually does stuff like him, Rand Paul, etc. He's like the libertarian-y kind of. Right. But then if you look into like who pays him, it does make sense that he's like fighting against Trump. You think that they would be natural allies. Oh. But Thomas Massie, he's been a firm no on the bill throughout the process, blasting him publicly, which is weird because Thomas Massie is one of those like the deficit must go down, we must save every cent, and then this is like doing a bunch of cuts. So you think he would be on it? Yeah. Trump also warned the GOP's blue state holdouts not to push too hard on the SALT deduction cap. I don't know what that is. God, I have to click on this now.
Isn't that something to do with children? I think.
What is SALT?
Children's health care.
But yeah, President stressed they should limit Medicaid cuts to targeting waste, fraud, and abuse. Well, it's funny because they were talking about like the proposed thing is adding work requirements like you already have for food stamps and welfare, etc. Most of these programs, these benefit programs, require full government access to your bank accounts so they can know how much money you have, and if you have too much, they can yell at you or take it or kick you off.
And that limit is $2,000.
Yeah. Because the limit was like put in like the 80s and just hasn't been touched.
Right, exactly.
So, yeah, like our minimum for I think in Arizona, like no, I'm sorry, maximum. The maximum unemployment you can get per month is $200 a week, because that was a limit set in the 90s when $200 a week was like something. Oh yeah, Biden took away the COVID extra unemployment that raised it to $800 a week.
Yeah.
Okay, but adding in those work requirements, like people have done, they did some studies. The nonpartisan budget committee, or whatever, has done studies to go, yeah, if you add the work requirement, the amount of money you will spend on bureaucracy, people checking that once a month, and all the like basically social workers you have to hire to go around and deal with all that, would cost way more than it currently does just keeping people like not having it, because it's supposed to be like, we'll prevent waste by keeping like I don't know fakers who I fraudulently got my health care, haha. Like,
but then you also have these companies coming in and starting to promise them that, we can automate this, and then now they're starting to see like, we could take all the money away and nobody has to get paid for anything. Everybody wins that way.
which means you're then paying a third-party auditing company millions and millions of dollars.
Which they don't
to do...
ever see it that way, and you're absolutely correct.
It's all just nonsense. It's like, dude, who cares? Give a couple people who probably shouldn't get the health care, just let them have it.
Who cares?
I was shocked to learn, like, it's almost like half the country is on Medicaid/Medicare right now. Like, we don't have government health care, but, like, the largest healthcare provider in the country is the government. So it's like, why don't we just take out all these stupid-ass middlemen and just do Canada? Which is not a great system either. Canada is killing poor people for their mutually maids. You're allowed to die if you have some terrible disease that's fatal, but now they're just recommending it to poor people. It's like, you're too poor. Take this cyanide capsule.
Yeah, no, that's exactly. It's very Soylent Green, and it that's exactly what's
still better than America, though.
Somehow it's still better. They are literally like, hey, you want to die, you poor, and it's somehow still better than what's going on in America. So explain that one.
At least they tell you up front in Canada that we can give you a pill to kill yourself. In America, they're like, fill out this form. Now talk to your specialist. Now go back to insurance. Now go to this guy. He's out of network. And you're just like, I'll just kill myself now. See, it's a more roundabout process.
America, if we had that would be like the number one thing you could do. Like they'd have that shit on the shelf.
First suggestion.
Like the cyanide pills would be on the damn CVS shelves, and they wouldn't even be locked up. Like no, they're just like, here you
Walk
go.
in the doctor's office. It's just the first display case.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
They'd still be like, only $1. Like it would still cost money. But it's Futurama. We do the suicide booths.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's 11. Well, 11 for me, whatever time it is for all of you. Is anybody getting hit by a tornado right now?
I just noticed that it started raining again, but I have to check the radar and see what's going on and that kind of a thing. So I'm hoping that I don't have to spend all day dealing with it. So if it's just a little bit of rain, it's fine. But if it starts to become an issue, then I have to take action, and that sucks. So I have to take action. Stop raining. That's the action, right?
Anti-precipitation action.
Yeah, something like that. So, but basically, action means I get soaking wet but I keep the water out of the basement. So, okay, I guess I get to stand out there like a lightning rod holding a tarp. It's like that, that GIF from it was one of the hurricanes, and it's got the guy with the flag, and he's like whipping.
Oh yes, I absolutely know the like America F yeah wind guy. Man, it'd be really ironic if as we're talking about the storm, that's when Nicolette's feed goes out. And we can't hear a thing. I just take away Nicolette when she's freeze framed because it's inevitably in a. This one's kind of happy. This is a nice one. It's like, hey, you're back. Oh, I took you away again. Sorry. Nope. Oh, yep. Jeez.
I'm returned. Yeah, no,
Well,
I don't think that
perfect
was
timing.
weather related, but I don't think I think we probably pushed our luck about as far as we can for an episode that has been remarkably free of
2
error.
or 3 in a row with no catastrophic internet failure.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Let's call it. Okay. So thank you guys for being with us, and we will be back next week. And then the week after that, I won't be here, but Jared might be here with you. So we're figuring it out. We don't know exactly what we're doing yet. It just the plans kind of just are materializing. But we will let you know on our socials. As always, you can check out our archive on our YouTube channel as well as Rumble. We are, on Twitch as well, but they don't really hold an archive, but you can follow us all those places anyways. Fastest way to hear what's going on is through our Twitter page. We are also on Blue Sky though. But that's a wasteland. Nobody's on Blue Sky. It's so useless. It's just crickets over there. It's completely useless. Social media sucks so hard.
Crickets and people yelling at each other. Blue Sky is funny because it's all the angriest people from Twitter are like, we hate Twitter, we're gonna go to Blue Sky, and then they all just yell at each other now.
Yeah, like we're just gonna make it horrible, like Twitter 2 over here. So, well, anyways, we're gonna see what kind of fresh hell this week holds, and we will be back with you next week, and then TBD after that. So thank you for joining us. Be safe, be well, and we will see you soon. So bye.
Bye, y'all.